It is not disrespectful for you to disagree with your mother. What is the worst thing that can happen if you actually disagreed with your mother? Some of us are just afraid of upsetting her, not even disagreeing with her. Disagreeing is not disrespect. You can honor your mother and still choose differently. Those two things can exist at the same time. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of the Rise and Rebuild podcast. I hope you're doing well. Happy Wednesday, you all, or whatever day it is that you're listening to this episode. I hope the good Lord has been good to you. He has kept you well in all ways. I am so good, so thankful to be here today, and I'm so thankful for you. My name is Lydia. I'm your host for today, and this is your space, your safe space to break unhealthy cycles, to heal what still hurts, and rebuild your life from a place of truth. All right. So before we dive in, I want to take this opportunity again and say thank you. As usual, thank you very much. Thank you very much for all my subscribers on this channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for coming every week, week on week. And thank you for your commitment and patronizing this channel. We are on the road to 1,000. And for that, I am so thankful for you. And if you're here and you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do that for me. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast, please, and leave a 5-star rating. Would you? And if you're on Apple Podcasts as well, go ahead and leave me a review. I really appreciate it. And it really helps more women find this space. And that is how we grow as a community, right? Second, and I'm really excited about this because every time I get to speak and inviting women to my space, I feel excited. I'm officially opening the doors to what is called the She Heals membership. And let me tell you why I created this membership container. It's not been there. I mean, I've had alumni membership for people who've been in my programs before, but now I'm opening up a new container for everybody that is accessible so that you can come in when you're ready and do the work. Not just listen to me, not just listen to other women, but also do the work yourself. So this is a monthly membership, a container for you as a woman who's ready to heal in all areas of your life and rebuild. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about patterns that are running your life, your identity, your money, your mothering, your marriage, your parenting, your emotional and spiritual wellness, all of it. Okay. And the beauty of this is that this is ongoing. So it's not something you rush through, not that you have 12 or 14 weeks to get through this. This is something you go through month by month, layer by layer together. So if you've been hearing me talk about the Conscious Rebirth Mastermind Group, this is now the membership version of it where it's accessible to you and many others, because I only take very few people on the membership, on the mastermind rather. So come on in to the membership, stay as long as you want and as long as it serves you. Cancel anytime, leave anytime, do the work as long as you're rebuilding your life the right way. All right? So those are the two housekeeping items I had for you. Now, let's get into today's conversation because this month of May, it's a special one for some people, but also, to be honest, it's a very sensitive one because we're talking about our mothers. Mother's Day is just around the corner. And some of you, that may bring a lot of joy because you have a good and working and wonderful relationship with your mama. But for others, it will bring out some things you don't even want to acknowledge. Some of you, there's love there, but also there's tension. Some of you, there's gratitude that you have a mother, but also you've been hurt by your mother. Some of you don't fully feel safe being yourself around your own mother. And some of you don't even have that relationship at all with your mother. So this month of May, we are not going to avoid it. We are just going to talk about it, heal that which still hurts and understand it. And we are going to start healing at the core. All right. And today we are going to start with something that is very close to my heart. It is not disrespectful for you to disagree with your mother. Yes, you heard me. And I already know some of you are like, Lydia, I don't know about that one. I want you to stay with me because it's not. It is not disrespectful to disagree with your mama. So let me ask you something. Growing up, why you allowed to disagree? Like truly disagree, not just think it in your head, but actually say it out loud. For most of us, the answer is no. At least for me, it's no. I was taught not to talk back, not to question, not to challenge. And if I did, I was corrected very quickly. I was told that I'm being disrespectful, I'm being out of line, or even being ungrateful to my own mother. Some of us, especially in the Black community, we were even whooped or even told, hey, this is your mama. She gave you life and she can take it away from you. Her word is final. You don't get to disagree. I don't know whether it's just me, but I believe a lot of us grew up with this same belief that it is not okay to disagree with your mother. It is a crime against humanity. It is so deeply woven into our psyche and our being that we don't even question it anymore. That when we disagree with our mother, we feel like we are doing something wrong. Not just wrong, sinful. We are dishonoring her. It's like we are the worst kind of daughters if we do that. And if you disagree with her, you continuously disagree with her, there are consequences. You know, the silent treatment, the guilt tripping, you're told you are ungrateful, as I said, you're selfish, you're out of order. Maybe, even the whole family gets to find out. And the message becomes very clear that, hey, your voice is a problem here. And so over time, what does that do? It continues to shape our behaviors, it shapes our voices, it shapes how we show up. And what we continue to learn is that it's okay and it's better to just be silent. And now we are grown-ups, we are mothers ourselves, we have our own life, we have our own perspectives, we have our own experiences. But the moment our mothers say something we don't agree with, we still hesitate. We still pause. We still have that internal conversation of, hey, should we say something or should we just leave it? And most of the times, we leave it. Now, a lot of us grew up in the church. I did. And if that's you, I'm going to say this with a lot of love. We had this one a lot. Honor thy mother and thy father. It's actually a commandment in the Bible. It's real scripture, and it's a good one. But somewhere along the way, somebody took that beautiful scripture and instruction and twisted it into something else entirely. It went from honor to obey without questioning. And those are not the same thing, not even close. To honor someone means you see their worth, you treat them with care, you speak to them with dignity. It does not mean you have no thoughts of your own. It does not mean your perspective doesn't even count. It does not mean you just sit there to be seen and not to be heard and nod all along when everything is going wrong and when every part of you knows something is off. That is not honor. That is disappearing. And I promise you, your God, my God, did not bring us into this world to disappear. No. Now, why do you think our mothers really enforced these, or even people in society enforced that we have to not to disagree with our mothers? Most of our mothers were really leading from fear of losing control, fear of looking like they didn't have everything figured out. Because honestly, a lot of them felt like they were barely even holding it together. And you and I now know when you start to lead from fear, you cannot afford for anyone, especially your own child, to know that you're leading from fear or even to see the cracks. Because in our mother's mind or authority, the second you see that they don't have everything figured out or they don't have all the answers, we lose respect for them. They lose the authority. They lose the ability to guide us. So our mothers continued to show up like they knew everything all the time. And they made it very clear that questioning them was not even something we got to do. It was a crime. They were doing the best they could, yes, with a wound they didn't even know they had. And I honestly want to say this with a lot of compassion because I need you to understand that they were also doing the best they could with what they had. But it cost you something. Because here's what happens when when the little girl, you and I grew up not allowed to disagree. The message and belief does not just stay in our childhood, it follows us. It follows us into our adult life. And now we are doing the same thing in our relationships, in our friendships, at work, how we are parenting. We are filtering, we are softening things, we are holding back just because we don't want to cause trouble. And later on, we are wondering, hey, I wish we had said something. We are learning how to be quiet when we have something to say. We are learning just to get along, to go along with things people say and do, even when everything in us is saying this doesn't feel right, because we learned to manage our truth when we were very young from the relationship we had with our mothers. We tucked it away. We said it in a way that did not upset her because we were not allowed to disrespect her. Or we didn't even say it at all, as I said. And we take all of that into our adult life now, because that relationship with your mother continues to shape every other relationship you have in your life. That is how powerful the mother-daughter dynamic is. It shapes your relationship in the workplace. It shapes your relationship at home, where you can't even speak up when you know you deserve better. In friendships where you keep showing up for other people who are not showing up for you, where you just keep the peace at the cost of your own needs. So you don't even know what you need, right? Into your relationships where you're silencing yourself for the things that really matter most to you, because you learned very early on as a young child that the other person's comfort, so here your mother's comfort, will always come first. And now we are out here in the world doing the same thing and wondering why nothing feels like it's real, wondering why people don't show up the way they should for us. It started right here with the relationship we had with our mamas. Okay? Now, having said that, then how do you respectfully disagree with your mother? Let me say it better. How do you disagree with her without upsetting her? Because some of us are just afraid of upsetting her, not even disagreeing with her. Some of us are really not afraid of disagreeing with our mothers. We are really afraid of having a different opinion and still have her approval. We are afraid of disagreeing with her without losing her love. We are afraid of disagreeing with her and still having her in our corner. Let me tell you this, sis, with a lot of care and love. That is a wound that is talking and leading you the wrong path. That is the part of you that is learning and continues to learn, or learned that somewhere along the way that your mother's approval is what makes everything okay. That without it, you are nothing. You are ungrateful. So before we even start answering how do we disagree with our mothers respectfully, we need to go back to this, because a lot of us, we don't always feel like we can just be and still be loved the same way by our mothers. We don't feel like we can disagree and still be in our mother's good books, because love for us came with conditions, with expectations, with agreements. And so now, even as adults, we are still quietly afraid that if we say something, our mothers are going to pull away. They are going to go silent on us. They are going to feel bad. They are not going to love us the same way. And I really want you to sit with this for a minute, because before we even, as I said, answer the question how to disagree, we have to be honest about why we are showing up this way. What are we really holding on to? What is that fear that we feel that we still need to be loved? We still need to be accepted. We still need to be in our mother's good books. Because if that is what is driving us, we are always going to find ways to shrink our truth. You are going to find ways to please your mother, even when everything in you is saying this doesn't feel right. Because why? You have that deep need to be loved and accepted. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have a need to be loved and accepted. But if you're not aware of it, if you keep up showing up from that need and wound and letting it run the show, you will keep choosing what keeps you accepted over what's actually true and honest for you. All right? So back to how you disagree with your mama without feeling like you're doing something entirely wrong or you're being disrespectful. First, let me give you something practical because I always want to leave you with something you can actually use, not just words, okay? Before you even go there, ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen if you actually disagreed with your mother? She might stop speaking to you. That's true. Okay. What else? She might tell the whole village. Okay. What else? She will poison your siblings against you. Okay. What else? Christmas or December is coming up, or holidays, August holiday, April holidays are coming up, and it's going to feel awkward. All right. What else? You keep going until you find out that there's really nothing worse that can happen, because what you're doing is you're avoiding something that you're actually strong enough to survive. You just never find out because you keep on shrinking before you get the chance to do it. So, what's the worst that can happen? Ask yourself that question. And that is how you start to face the real fear. You start to face the fear of losing love, losing her love, that is, the fear of losing her approval. Because when you really sit with it and follow it all the way through, you'll start to realize, hey, I can actually survive this. It might not be that uncomfortable. It might feel awkward, yes. It might not go the way I want it to go, yes, but I will still be okay. And that is where your power starts to come back, because now you're not speaking from fear anymore. You are speaking from the truth. And from that place, disagreeing with your mother doesn't feel disrespect anymore. It just feels like you're being honest, because now you understand that I can sit and stomach anything that comes with me disagreeing with my mother. Not rude, not disrespectful, just disagreeing. And once you're grounded in that, and with the understanding that disagreeing is not disrespect, you can love your mother and not agree with her. You can honor your mother and still choose differently. Those two things can exist at the same time. All right? And disagreeing with your mother may sound like you telling the truth, even if she doesn't like it, because now you're healing yourself. You're not being aggressive. You're not even saying it with attitude. You're just being honest. You're not trying to fight her or prove anything to her or prove a point. You are just being clear about where you stand and where she stands. Sometimes it's really that simple, telling your mama, I hear you, mother, but I'm going to do it differently. I understand what you're saying, but that's not what I feel led to do. Because now you have the autonomy. Remember, healing your mother wound is you having the autonomy over your life. That doesn't work for me. You can tell her that and you leave it there. You don't keep adding more just to make it easier for her to accept. Just being calm, staying calm, and not getting pulled into going, back and forth with her. Because sometimes once you say your truth, the conversations can hurt and can turn into some back and forth with her. You don't have to engage every point. You can just say, I've heard you, mama, and still stay grounded in your decisions. And sometimes disagreeing with your mother doesn't even need a long conversation. It just looks like you making a different choice and standing by it when it comes up. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to convince your mother. You don't have to win the conversation with your mother. You don't have to be understood by your mother to still be valid, or your point to be valid. You just have to be clear and stand in it. Stand on business. And now let me prepare you for something. When you finally start to speak up or disagree with her or with your mother or with the mother figure in your life, you're going to start to feel guilty. Shame is going to start to drag you behind immediately. And I need you to understand the difference between feeling guilty and being guilty, because they're not the same things. You will feel guilty as a sensation because it's an old programming that is now firing shots in your head. There's a voice that you learned years ago that when you speak up for yourself, you are wrong. Being guilty means you actually did something wrong. So feeling guilty and being guilty are two different things. Feeling guilty is a programming. Being guilty means that you did something wrong. And speaking your truth with care, that's not wrong. Having a different opinion than your mother, that is not wrong. Advocating for yourself, it is not wrong. So the guilt will come. You are not going to get through this easily. It will come. And you're not going to get through this perfect. Your voice will shake. You will cry sometimes. You will replay the conversations later, and that's okay. You're learning. You just have to understand truly that I did not do anything wrong. I'm not guilty. I'm just feeling guilty because it's an old programming. And I believe this, if you can learn to stand your ground with your mother, especially as you heal, you can stand your ground anywhere. Because for many of us, that is where it started. Our relationships with our mother continue to shape every other relationship we have in our lives. That is where our voices were shaped. That is where we first learned what to say and what not to say, how to show up, how to shrink. So when we begin to shift that relationship, when we begin to heal that relationship with our mother, it doesn't just change our relationship with our mother, it starts to change you and every other relationship you have after that. And let me be honest, some of us were raised by mothers who were not equipped to be what we needed. That doesn't take away the love. You still love your mother. It doesn't erase what they did or didn't do, but it also does not cancel what was missing. And that is the part where a lot of us are now waking up to, that there are things our mothers did or did not do that we have to learn for ourselves. There are parts of us we have to heal on our own. That there are ways our mothers never became who we needed them to be. They were never modeled for us. It is not your fault. It is not. Some of us were raised by very toxic mothers. I know the word toxic gets thrown away a lot around, but it's reality. That is not your fault, but it is now your responsibility to heal from that. So as you go into these conversations, as you start to use your voice, as you start to heal the relationship you have with your mother, I want you to know that disagreeing with your mother does not make you a bad daughter. It does not make you disrespectful. It does not make you ungrateful. It makes you a woman who's learning to stand in your truth. And that right there is how you start to break cycles. Because some of us have very difficult relationships with our mothers. And we've not been allowed to say that because society tells us that's your mama. She gave birth to you. She gave you life. So you don't get to disagree with her. You have to make it right by her. Forgetting that some of us were raised with mothers who were not equipped to be mothers. Some of us were dealing with mothers who are going through their own challenges and life dealt them a big blow and they passed that pain to us. And so we've learned to show up very differently because of the relationship we had with our mothers. And so today I want to give you permission, daughter. It is not wrong to disagree with your mother because now you have a mind of your own. Now you're starting to heal the relationship you had with your mother. Healing the mother wound is about you getting your life back and the autonomy to be who you are without the approval and the need for love for your mother, from your mother rather. Okay? So that's all I had for you today. As I said, we'll have more in the next episodes. But today, your girl leader is rooting for you. Be well, stay well, take care of yourself in this season. Be gentle with yourself as you're learning and finding your voice again. And if this episode continues to speak to you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with another woman who needs to hear this. You already know who she is. Please do. I love you deeply. I'm praying for you. I'm whispering a prayer for you. And I will see you in the next episodes, okay? Until next time, keep rising, keep building, rebuilding, and keep becoming the woman you were always meant to become. Again, it is not disrespectful to disagree with your mother. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.